Boyer. Next to me, Steve D'Angeli. And on my right, Clarence Liu and Daniel Lajeunesse. Just before I go any further, let me introduce staff, sorry. The Secretary Treasurer is Antonio Greco, and the planner is Matthew Peverini. And before I go any further, I understand that the mayor is with us this evening and would like to say a few words, so I'll ask him to come forward now. Mr. Marakis, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members, it's a little bit odd being on this side, but I didn't get an opportunity. I know this is your second meeting as the new Committee of Adjustment for this term, and so I didn't get an opportunity at the last meeting. Unfortunately, we were very busy with a couple of other meetings. I just wanted to come and thank you, Mr. Chair, and the committee members for putting your names forward and congratulating you on being our new Committee of Adjustment and embarking down this road over this term, and just let you know that you have the full confidence of the town, council, and staff. So thank you very much, and congratulations and welcome, and on being our new Committee of Adjustment for the term of 2018 to 2022.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and we appreciate your confidence and the confidence of council and staff in us to take on our role as members of the Committee of Adjustment, and appreciate that you would take time out of your busy schedule to come in and officially welcome us to this table. And I will do as chair this particular seat, which you are very familiar with, the dignity and the representation that it deserves. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right. So we will continue here, and for each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the applications, and then the applicant or agent will be then given an opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and sign the corresponding request for notice on the form on the table in front of you, and that would be off here to my left. After completing the form, please hand it to the Secretary Treasurer. Each individual may only speak on an issue only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentation shall be made. If you require any assistance with regards to visual material or technical assistance, please let me know before making any presentation. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. Your name, address, and comments, and any other personal information are being recorded in accordance with the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are also available on the desk in front of you, and again, they should be over here to your right, my left. Should you wish to receive notification of the decisions for tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. Please ensure that all questions and/or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments should the committee feel that it is appropriate. So, with that, we'll proceed with the meeting. I will look to the committee for approval of the agenda.
I move for the approval of the agenda of tonight's meeting dated March 7, 2019.
And seconded by? Seconded by Steve. And I'll ask members of the committee if there are any pecuniary interests or general nature thereof, or for any of the items for tonight. Seeing none, thank you very much. I'll look to the committee members to approve the minutes of the meeting held February 14th. That's meeting number 19-02.
I move for the adoption of the minutes of the Committee of Adjustments of the meeting held February 14, 2019, of 1902 being the meeting number.
Thank you very much, and seconded by Michelle. Thank you very much. All of those in favor, and that carries. Thank you. So we'll move to the presentation of applications. The first one is a consent application C 2019-01, and this is for 27 Lacey Court. So the purpose of the above noted consent application is to sever the existing lot and allow the creation of one new residential lot fronting onto Lacey Court. Departments and agencies that were circulated: Planning Division, application reviewed subject to conditions; Building Division, preliminary review, zoning review; Engineering Division, application reviewed and it is subject to conditions; Operational Services, application reviewed subject to conditions; Central York Fire Services, application reviewed, no comments; Electric Utility, application reviewed, no comments; York Region, application reviewed, no comments; Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, application reviewed, and it is subject to conditions. And I believe that's it for departments circulated. Is the applicant here? Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Victor Gidberg. I'm an architect and I'm an agent for the owner of the house. So I've just a brief presentation. The application in front of you to sever, as you mentioned, sever existing lot into two parcels, and basically this severance, we're in compliance for the lot area, actually succeeding minimum required for the area. We have deficiency on lot frontage. It's 13.5 meters, whereas 15 meters are required. But as it was outlined in planning staff report, it's not uncommon for this court. So we have some of the lots having frontage even smaller than ours. So in average, it's considered appropriate for the area by planning staff. This lot is actually the biggest lot on the street, and existing house is very old, and location of existing houses, the projection. Yes, location of existing house outlined by dotted line. As you can see, it's sort of odd location on the property. It sits on an odd angle, and we think that what we are proposing, two new houses, more or less parallel to the front lot line, would be a big improvement for this particular land. And in terms of the scale, we were trying to keep it within the scale of adjacent properties. The width of the houses is similar to all neighbors' houses, and we comply with side yard setback on exterior sides adjacent neighbors. We have deficiency on interior side yard setback, but it's only related to front corners and the spacing between two houses getting bigger and exceeding minimum required setback. I also made a small sketch for just to illustrate on a Google view how these two new houses will look like in comparison to other properties. As you can see, it's basically, in my opinion, it's a good fit, and it does not destroy in any way integrity of the neighborhood. Yeah. Should I talk about the houses, or we just strictly about Severance itself?
So, yeah, what we can do in this case, because you've gone beyond just the Severance, with the only real issue on the Severance being frontage. But I suppose for the benefit of the public and members of the committee, we could talk about the variances, although they're going to just come right back. So it really is up to you. Are you going to, well, would you want to make a presentation on the zoning issues at some point?
Yeah, basically, I probably already done it because
You
it's,
probably
as I said, yeah, just related to one point in front of us. No, I just very little to add to what I already said. It's this is a front. How those new houses will look like. And, just want to emphasize that we're using traditional materials, and we're trying to keep architecture as close as possible. Like, it's obviously a little bit more modernized than what exists on a court, but still, we in terms of scale and proportions, we try to keep it close to what it is in neighborhood, and to minimize the impact on adjacent properties the way we design. Side elevations, as you can see, the roof goes lower. It's like it's a little bit higher on the front, but just to keep good proportions for front facade, but then it goes lower at the side and rear elevation to minimize any negative impact on adjacent properties. And yeah, we don't have any variances for the height, obviously, or any other variances, but side yard setback. And the second variance for eaves projection is actually related to side yard setback variance, because one variant triggers another. So that's basically concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you. You can certainly have a seat for the moment, and I'm sure we will likely be calling you back for some questions.
Thank you.
I'll just mention the elevations that you have just shown us, those side elevations, I don't think were part of the initial package.
They weren't, yeah. They hadn't been requested. I've been asked just to submit front elevations. That's what we did. But yeah, we have all 4 elevations, obviously.
Right. Yeah, actually, in actual fact, I mean, in looking at the variances that you're requesting, dealing with the severance, I mean, those elevations could change. That could change, when you're filing for applications, should you be successful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So again, this is just comments on the severance. So I'll ask if there is anyone from the public who wishes to. Oh, one more thing before we go further, and I'm going to just look to staff for some clarity in the reports that were circulated, and I will also mention that the committee did receive a number of letters from the public, and we can deal with those, but I'll acknowledge that we did receive 2. And as late as this evening, I was just, and members of the committee, I hope you've had a chance, there was an email sent, and so just to let you know, the public know, that we do have those this evening as well, and we can address those if the members of the public wish to take a moment to cover those off as well. So I'll ask for any comments from the public on the severance. Oh, let me go to staff first. Yes, and sorry, I started there and got myself sidetracked. I apologize. Just for clarity on the staff report, Matthew, please.
Through the chair, good evening, Mr. Chair, committee members, and members of the public. Just before we proceed with this, the consideration of the consent application for severance, just wanted to touch base and talk quickly about a concern in one of the letters received from the residents at 26 Lacey. The letter dated March 7, 2019 raised a concern regarding inaccuracies in the planning report pertaining to lot frontages. Just wanted to clarify that the intent of this portion of the staff's planning report assessed the frontage from a streetscape perspective, whereby the values provided were indicated from the front lot line of the property, and this was done due to the significant flare out of the subject lands. How we typically assess lot frontage in the town zoning bylaw is by taking a dimension from the intersection of the front lot line and the side lot lines 7.5 meters back, and drawing a tangent between the two lines, and that would be the actual lot frontage. And just to alleviate some of the concerns that may be present here today, I prepared a rendering available on the front table over here to illustrate what the actual lot frontages are. Just please bear with me. They are, again, a rendering, and they're as close as I could get to the actual. Thank you.
So, thank you, Matthew, for doing that. Now, again, for the benefit of the public, I'm wondering if we take a minute and just pull one of those up and explain. It's clear to me because I've got the sketch in front of me, but just for the benefit of the public. And maybe just, just pull it down a little bit, or if you want to start with one of the lots at one end of the cul-de-sac there, and just walk us through. The numbers aren't really all that clear there, but.
Okay, through the chair. So this is the mock-up. You'll see this back lot line here is what the lot frontage is for each property. These parallel lines here of the intersection, this is set 7.5 meters back along each of the properties. So I'll just go one by one. And if any of the members of the public would like to see the rendering, again, there are some available up at the front. So 11 Lacey has a lot frontage of approximately 17.9 meters. 15 Lacey 18 meters, 15 Lacey was 18 meters, 19 Lacey is just over 21 meters, 23 Lacey is approximately 20.7 meters. The subject lands are approximately 26.2. What number? 26 Lacey is approximately 18.1 meters. 22 Lacey is 17.6, 18 is 18.6, and 14 Lacey is 18.3 meters.
Thank you. So I appreciate the time that you took to put this together, just to demonstrate where the frontage is actually measured. So for this subject land 27, looking at it, it appears to be about 26.2. All right. So thank you. Members of the public who want to comment on the severance of the property. Are we okay with that? Or any questions? So I'll just ask you to identify yourself and your address, please. Come forward. And mic is on. Good
Yeah.
evening.
Good
Welcome.
evening, everyone. My name is Junlai Zhao, the owner of 23 Lazy Court.
Thank you.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you to conduct this hearing. I want to say I strongly, completely oppose this proposal because based on the regulation, you can see the regulation, the lot of frontage minimum 15 meter, but right now you want to don't follow up the procedure, the regulation. If anyone don't follow the regulation, you can imagine what happened. The first one I want to say. The next one, if we put the two houses over there, I worry about the utility supply, such as air, gas supply, water supply, electricity supply. They design this house, but right now the two house, and each big house much double than my house right now. I bought this house. I put 1.2 million buy this house last year. Because why I buy this house? Because more space. I can see the park. I can see the trees. Right now, if you permit this proposal, what happen? I need right now the space over there. Right now, just close my windows. How can see the privacy? You can see when you open the window. Right now, you can you can see the trees, beautiful sunlight. Right now, block everywhere. The third one I want to say, will this area 30 years ago built up, every house is becoming unity and harmony right now. If you put a new two house over there, you can imagine over there what happened. Even the right now, I can imagine the picture if the two house put over there. Right now, the proposal higher than the existing house. And I don't want to see, when I open my windows, I can see just black brick. I want to see, you can see. You can see the 27 over there. If I open the window, can see the brick, the house over here. You can see a window over here. When you open the window, you can see brick. How can see the privacy? I put 1.2 million to buy the house over there. But right now, even right now, I can see the back there. I can see the park over here. But right now, let's see you guys already know this based on the regulations. Already didn't follow up the regulations. The first point. That's I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm Jane O'Hare. I'm my husband John. He's going to help me with my ears here. I live at 26 Lacey Court, and I've been there for 30 years, almost 30 years. This is about compatibility of a land severance. And I'm referring to the report that went to the Committee of Adjustment from the Planning Department, the interim report. The lot lines, that was straightened out. The lowest lot on the frontage is 17 meters. But it's about the mass of the houses, the size of the houses that they're building are close to 5,000 square feet according to the plans, the site plan that was submitted. I want to point out that when we work an average out of the existing houses on the street, an average of the houses are about 2,536 square feet. Although they go from 2,528 square feet to 329 square feet, when you calculate the number of houses and you work at an average, it works out to 2,536 square feet. So the size of the houses are going to be a lot larger than what the planning department is basically implying, saying that they're saying that the size of the houses are similar in size to the ones on Lacey Court. That's not correct. And also, well, this is the report regarding the severance. And I don't know why, but it's page 2, paragraph 4. And it goes from lines, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It's page 2, second paragraph. So that should be, I hope it's the right one. No, I got the wrong one. Wait, no, that is the right one. Yeah, it is, yeah, the official plan, yeah. Well, that's the pattern. What have I got? Second paragraph regarding the official plan policies. Yeah, this is yeah, it's right. So basically, it's implying that the mass of or the size of the houses are similar in size, and they're going to be 4,900 square feet at least, and ours are like an average of 2,300.
So just let me stop you. There's
2,500 and
let me just stop you there because I think you may be looking at the staff report on the zoning variances and not the severance.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Just so that everyone knows, I think you are on page 2, and you're talking about the general intent of the official plan. Is that correct?
Okay, so I got that.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, I'm not on the same page.
No, that's okay.
Quite
That's-
obviously. Okay, and then there was another issue. And it's on my survey, and the survey compared to the survey that they're supplying. And I'm questioning their lot line. And basically, I'm saying that the information they're giving on the size of the width of their lot is questionable simply because my survey is different than theirs. And I'll give you- Now, the fence line, you can't see the fence there. Of course you can't see the fence there because it's on the lot line. But according to their site plan, my fence is on their property. I couldn't figure out why that was at first, and I realized that, in fact, if you look at their site plan, that lot line is supposed to line up directly with a manhole cover in the middle of the road, because there's a storm sewer underneath that lot line. That's why it's there. And it goes directly into the manhole cover. The lot line is supposed to be in the center of the manhole cover at the point of when you draw a line, it's supposed to be at the center of the manhole cover on the street. But when I drew the line on the line on their site plan, I could see that it wasn't that at that point. So that gives me the opinion that there is a difference on the size of the lot that they're claiming. Also, on my survey, there's a difference in measurement from my house to the lot line on their site plan, on my survey, and also on the original survey that was given by the developer who did the property. It doesn't show much, but if you draw a line and work out the measurements on their survey, it can go anywhere from 2 inches to 26-inch difference on the side of the lot line. So I'm concerned with that. I don't want to have to go to another planner, or rather another surveyor, and have to pay a lot of money to do a survey for somebody else's property. That's crazy. But that's my concern, that their survey is not correct, and that will be the width of their property. It may be just a little bit out, it may be a foot out, whatever, or 2 feet out. But there's a problem there. And no, it's also.
I'll just, while you're looking at your notes there, I'll just draw the committee's attention to a letter that you did write expressing your concerns as well. So we've seen that. It is part of our package. So we've actually.
The thing is what I'm concerned about. They'll come in, they're going to tear my fence down, drive over my property, change my elevations, and damage my landscaping. And I've already seen developers do that before to other property I've owned. And I'm not ready for this again. Not at this age. So, anyways, that's what I'm concerned with their request of consent, that the property they're claiming isn't exactly the proper width. So that's a question with their survey. I have other matters that I want to speak about, but when we get back to the
Zoning?
when we get back to the variances,
Sure.
I'll come
Okay.
back.
Thank you.
Okay?
On the severance, yes, sir. Thank you.
Lacey Court, and I got a couple of concerns. One of the things, I need to refer to the drawing that this gentleman put up. Frontages, but you know, you're mentioning the frontages are 18, 16, 19 feet, 20 feet, meters, sorry. And the proposed ones are, with the severance, are 13? 13.5? Is that right?
That's
So-
correct.
So you're kind of dropping it quite a level compared to all the other frontages. So I'm an original owner. I bought in 1989. So I'm there's one of two or three of us here are the original owners. This bungalow was originally planned to be torn down as part of the original development, and another house was to be built there. One house, the exact same size as John's, 26 Lacey Court. And, you know, when the person who purchased the bungalow, it was an older couple, they decided, well, we don't want a brand new house. We like the bungalow, let's have it. So that's why it's a bit of an anomaly compared to all the other houses. But I guess the point is, the intent was in the original development to build one house there, not two. And, you know, so my concern is, first of all, I'd like to know, what is the square footage of these houses each? You can't tell from this. And could the architect please answer that?
Well, no, just hold on. We'll be able to get to that, but just so that you are aware, we're not dealing with either a lot coverage issue or how big the house. This committee isn't going to be dealing
Okay,
with.
So you're dealing with
any-
severance?
We're dealing with the severance, and we will be dealing with the variance,
Okay.
but we aren't dealing, and we won't be dealing with either lot coverage, height, or square footage of the building itself.
When is that being dealt with then?
It won't be dealt with until the applicant, if he is successful, files an application for a permit, for a building permit. Because if we knew what the square footage or the lot coverage, if we knew that it was going to be in excess of 35%, and I'll look to staff, is that the maximum lot coverage for this area? It isn't in front of this committee, so I'll just verify that, so that if anyone else has any other concerns about that, we can deal with that right now.
Through the chair, this is a detached third density residential R3 zone, and the permitted lot coverage maximum is 35%. If I may just interrupt,
Sure.
it may be beneficial to consider the minor variances in concert with the proposed severance, as the proposed severance is reliant on the either approval or denial of the request for lesser lot frontage. You're not able to, you as a committee are not able to approve a severance for a lot that is not in conformity with the zoning bylaw.
Correct.
So, just
Okay.
before we proceed, sorry.
Okay, so then maybe I can just qualify then, if you don't want, if we can't talk about building size and those types of things, maybe just the severance and the frontage, which you indicated on your original drawing. You've got, you know, they're 18 feet, 18 meters, 18 meters, 18 meters, 19, 20 meters, and then this is going to be 26 divided by 2, so it's going to be 13. So, I mean, all of a sudden you're compressing it, you're not in conformity with the rest of the court. That's the point I guess I'm making at. I did have these other concerns, but if I can't bring those up right now, we'll deal with those after. Okay?
Perfect.
Thank
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
My name is Ross Pears. I'm the owner of 18 Lacey Court. The dimensions of the frontage of how they're building the house and dividing the 26 by 2 and making it 13 each. The court, I've lived there for about 18 years now. And the court, the lots are everything in the court. The way this houses sit in the lots and the look from the street, it's everything. It's almost like an executive look. By putting two houses in here, we're going to take away the whole look of the court, because they're going to look like they're jammed in there. It's so obvious just by the drawing, and the lot size and the frontage and just the whole package. And I really feel that it'll take away the value of the court. It's going to look really weird. It's going to look stupid. Two houses jammed in the corner, and the rest of the houses are all spread out. And it's just not going to be, it's not going to be good for everybody in that court. Financially, for sure. People have been talking about dimensions and lot sizes and house sizes and all that, but just the whole idea, the whole concept of fitting two homes in that section, it's going to look horrible, and it's going to devalue the look of the court and, of course, the values. I don't live beside them. Can't imagine living beside the house going in like that, and you look outside your side windows, and it's all house. I live across from it, and even just living across from it, there's no way. It's just not going to be. There's no way. Right from the frontage, right from anything for the severance. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak with regards to the severance? Good evening, sir.
This is Shabir Abbassadeh. I live on 19 Lacey Court. Sorry. I live on 19 Lacey Court, and they said whatever I wanted to say, so I came here to say I'm totally against this proposal, because there is just 10 houses in this court. It's a very quiet court, and I came here for actually 3 years ago. I have 2 kids. It's very quiet court. I really like it, and the distance between the houses is building 2 houses over there is going to be really awkward in this court, I believe. So I came here to say I'm totally against
Thank you,
that.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming forward. Actually, we have seen pictures. We have not seen perhaps your photographs. Normally, when we ask you to come forward, we ask that you speak only once. If you wish, you can certainly, when we call the rest of the applications, certainly we'll have a look at them then, if that's okay. Okay. Is there anyone who hasn't spoken that wishes to? Yeah. So maybe what we will do, and I'm going to go back to staff just to reconfirm, what we can do is we can call the other applications at the same time. And if I go through those and we do those, then you'd be more than welcome to come forward and let us have a look at the photographs that you do have. So what I'll do is I will move to the next item on the agenda so that we get this into the record. So please bear with me. I'll just, to the applicant, so you understand that what we're going to do is we're going to bring the other variances forward if you're in agreement with doing it that way. Thank you. So the next application is for 27 Lacey Court, of course. The related file is the consent application that we are currently dealing with. And the minor variance that we're dealing with first is minor variance 2019 02A, 02B, and 02C. The purpose of 02A is to permit a reduction of the minimum lot frontage of 13.53 meters for the lot to be severed, thereby requiring a variance of 1.47 meters. 1902B is to permit a reduced minimum easterly interior yard of 1.2 meters, thereby requiring a variance of 0.3 meters. And the purpose of application MV 2019-02C is to permit an eave projection of 0.76 meters into the required easterly interior side yard, thereby requiring a variance of 0.06 meters. Departments and agencies that were circulated: Planning Division, application reviewed, no comments. Building Division, preliminary zoning review. Engineering Division, application reviewed, subject to conditions. Operational Services, application reviewed, subject to conditions. Central York Fire Services, application reviewed, no comments. Electric Utilities, application reviewed, no comments. York Region, application reviewed, subject to conditions. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, application reviewed, subject to conditions. And I will move to the next. Sorry, so we were dealing with, I believe it was lot on this first application. Yeah, so it's Plan 65 M2583 Lot 6. And this is the same plan, same lot. And these are applications 2019-03A, 03B, and 03C. And the purpose of application 2019-03A is to permit a reduced minimum lot frontage of 13.35 meters for the lot to be severed, thereby requiring a variance of 1.47 meters. Purpose of application 2019-03B is to permit a reduced minimum westerly interior side yard of 1.2 meters, thereby requiring a variance of 0.3 meters. And finally, the purpose of application 2019-03C is to permit an eaves projection of 0.76 meters into the required westerly interior side yard, thereby requiring a variance of 0.06 meters. Departments and agencies circulated. Planning Division, application reviewed, no comments. Building Division, preliminary zoning review. Engineering Division, application reviewed, subject to conditions. Operational Services, application reviewed, subject to conditions. Central York Fire Services, application reviewed, no comments. Electric Utilities, application reviewed, no comments. York Region, application reviewed, subject to conditions. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, application reviewed, subject to conditions. I do have to go back to the applicant and ask if you wanted to add anything on the zoning issues. I know you covered them off very well at the onset. And you will be able, by the way, to come back once we get through public comments and obviously members of the committee.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think I basically I said everything I wanted to say. I already touched on the subject of variances in my previous speech. So yeah, I guess I just
Thank you. Just before you go, I want to make sure that you're aware of the conditions that are contained in the staff report.
Yes, yes.
And are you in agreement with those
Yeah,
conditions?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. The reason, again, I want to mention that is because some of your concerns that we've already heard are covered in some of those conditions, such as securities that are required by the municipality that would, protect property and the condition of the surrounding area, and requirements on things such as other regulations, the trees, for example, those kind of things. So we can then include your comments on the zoning issues again at this point. So I believe we can go back to Mrs. O'Hare, if you want to come forward and share those photos that you've got and any relevance to the setback reductions, if you wish to speak to that as well. And I think the other gentleman wanted to talk about the variance issues as well. I think you were going to come back and come forward on that, so you'll be able to do that now.
I'm sorry, but is this for really regarding the variance?
Variances, that's correct.
Okay.
I think you did have some photographs that you wanted
Yeah, I
to
have
show
some
us.
photographs.
Yeah,
And the reason I want to show these photographs is basically to show the spacing between the houses.
sure.
And I like the style of the houses, which are all brick, clay brick. Brick was from the Caledon area, and they have a slip on it from the Caledon mine. I guess they were custom, that was a custom brick made at the time. I don't know whether I'm sorry. I don't know whether they're still doing it or not. Anyways, the spacing between the houses is basically quite generous compared to the rest of the areas in a lot of the neighborhood and in the different in our cul-de-sac. It's quite generous, although it's not. Although the zoning bylaws allow 1.5 meters, mine is 1.5 meters from the corner of the lot, but it's just the corner. That's probably one of the closest. The rest are quite generous in the spacing. So, as you can see, the houses look quite big at the front. They're a lot of them are not as deep as mine. That's mine there. And then there's 27 Lacey Court. That's the next one. There's a lot of space there, but
So can we just put that, just to stop you there, so I just want to make sure I've got this one right. So if I'm looking at the garage, the white garage door, and I think that's the house that would be demolished, am I correct there? And you were concerned about that, is it the hedge or that's in between you and them in that location of that? You had mentioned early something about the property line and about...
yeah, okay, so right around where that light thing is,
Right,
and over to the right more, that's the sewer under, there's a storm sewer under there, so that's where they can't build
okay,
within a certain area. And the lot line goes right, I was advised by the surveyor that did the site. I was advised by my surveyor and also by the builder where exactly how to work out the lot line and how to draw it along the site plan. And there is the manhole cover. Basically, they said, okay, work it out from the middle of the manhole cover because that's where the line is. As you start from the manhole to get a straight line to the back of the property. And that's how we're to work it out. So, but anyways, that's why there's a space between the house there, because of the storm sewer that goes down there. So I'm concerned that they're going to tear my fence down.
it looks like,
And drive over my property. It looks, and also this one here, the people on the other side, most of that property is theirs. Doesn't belong. It's only the frontage that might belong to 27. The rear belongs to the other house, not 27.
right,
Or 23, yeah. Well, no, not 27. No. The rear belongs to it doesn't belong to 27.
okay,
So the house may end up being a little bit in front of, like the houses at 27 may be a little bit in front of that one. I also noticed that on the picture they showed us, if you look at, you can compare the pictures of the drawings of the house on their survey, they're a lot farther back in the property than what that photograph showed. So I find that to be a bit deceiving. I didn't appreciate that one. But anyways, these are the rest of the houses. And they're the spaces. You can see they're quite generous. So if you, basically, the patterning that was mentioned by the planning department to the Committee of Adjustment, I studied design. And pattern means a repeat pattern. If you put, you lower the space on especially those two houses, it's not going to have the same pattern. You're going to change the pattern completely. In addition to that, the houses are going to stand out like a sore thumb simply because it mentions in the report that it's all right. You won't be able to see this from the street, the fact that it's going to be 1.2 meters. In fact, it's a 2-story house. They're different colors. It's going to stay. You can see them from Wellington Street. I can see my house from Wellington Street. So that's wrong too when they have the idea, they say that nobody's going to see it. Well, certainly everybody on the street will be able to see it, and so will I. And it will lower the value of our property if they have such an outstanding thing. So I'm thinking that even if it were a clay brick instead of the cheap, the glued on facing on the houses, they're right out of, that's fine for houses that wanted to change their facing from the 50s, but it should be, if they're going to do anything, they should be all clay brick, similar to the brick in Caledon, so it will work with our all our houses on the street. That's very important. So they're all out of, those two houses are completely out of character by the mass, by the facing of the houses, by the lots. You know, even if they had smaller houses, I wouldn't worry. But the fact that they're massive houses, they're going to be going right down at the back of the lot. The larger lots do have a rear back to them. We have a backyard. I know it seems to be quite excessive, but you know, when you buy a half-acre lot up in Aurora with a 3,000 square foot house on it, you expect to have a little bit of space in the backyard. And this is not keeping within the pattern, I think, of our subdivision, with exception to some lots they don't have that much space at the back, but they're not that deep. So basically the deeper lots, I think, should be allowed spacing in the backyard. So we're not looking at brick walls when we go at the backyard. But I'm also concerned about the shadowing. And I won't be getting any sunlight from early morning until noon in the afternoon on my trees. My concern is that the trees were put in to hold in the hill. When they did the subdivision, the hill was just put there. It was like graded down, and I was advised by the town of Aurora, the Jim Tree, plant trees there, hold the hill in so it doesn't erode. And that's what I'm concerned about too. If they block out the sunlight in the morning, when the sun goes over, a lot of the trees won't get all the sunlight they need. I'm afraid they're going to die too. We put a lot of money in trees in our property. So we have at least about 50 trees on the lot. But I'm concerned about that, also the shading, the sunlight not getting to the trees and not holding in the back of the lot. So that's quite serious too, because it's just going to erode. But other than that, that's my concern on the patterning and spacing and different issues that I wanted to mention
Thank you.
about the new development. You know, I just think it's just too big the houses are too long. The lot isn't wide enough. There's quite a difference in the frontage. And I think the report wasn't fair to say that my lot only had a 11-meter frontage, when in fact they work it out to 18 meters. So I'm questioning the planning staff's opinion that they're given to the Committee of Adjustment. I think it's misleading and it's unfair. And that's what they're the things that I'm not too happy with, aside from the fact that they're going to rip my fence down. They usually say it's theirs. That's the way builders are. It's my fence, all of a sudden, and that's it. And I get a tractor going by my window, driving over my flowers. Okay, so that's my concern.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
About the square footage?
You can?
Okay, so architect, can you please tell me what the square footage?
Direct your question to me.
Okay,
and
what is the square footage of each of those houses that are being proposed?
Okay.
Please.
I'm going to just, before you, staff has the square footage, first of all, lot coverage, has that been, or the square footage of the footprint, has that been reviewed at all?
Through the chair, I'll defer to the applicant for that
Okay.
information.
I'll ask the applicant then to, if you have that information, sir, I'll ask you to let us know what that is.
Honestly, I don't remember lot coverage. I know it's much lower than 35%. I think, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the neighborhood of 26-27%. But overall square footage of the house is 3,600, roughly 35 to 3,600 on 2 floors. So by any means, it's not huge houses. It's very average and comparable to size to the other houses in the neighborhood.
So about 1,800 square feet would be the footprint, roughly.
Probably closer to 2,000 because when I'm saying square footage on 2 floors, it means excluding garages. So
Okay.
garages probably add a little bit to, it's not exactly divided by 2, so the second floor is slightly bigger than the first floor because it goes over the garages.
The drawings with all the plantations, you are stating a coverage of 230 square meters, which is 2,500 square feet per home. For both homes, identical square coverage.
And what it is percentage-wise?
Percentage I do not have, but I do have the coverage.
Yeah, but I think when I put this number, I meant including the footprint of the houses. If I may, yeah, for this application, we didn't go into every detail of future houses. So when I put this footprint on my sketch, it meant to include decks and porches. So because we don't have all the details yet, so I was trying to stay like on a, on the more extreme side to cover everything which can be included, potentially can be included in the coverage. So, but the intention was to build houses not bigger than 3,600 square feet of gross floor area, excluding garages.
Again, let's just be clear. We're not dealing, there is no application before this committee for lot coverage or height. That's not being discussed. It's really, we're making the assumption based, it's not an assumption. What we're doing is we're dealing with the applications specifically and only as it relates to the frontage and those interior side yards. So The exterior side yards are not an issue. The setback from the street line is not an issue. The setback from the rear line is not an issue. We aren't dealing with that. So if these were approved and the applicant was to come forward with plans that didn't meet any of the other criteria, when he's filing his applications, staff would advise him that he would be non-compliant. They wouldn't be able to issue those permits.
That was directed at me.
That's just based on the process and on the question of how big are the homes?
Yeah, but it's a simple question, and, you know, I mean, if I can put this up, what came with us, the plots of those homes dwarfs the others. So, I mean, it's a simple question and a simple answer that an architect can answer. What is the square footage of the house? Now, if you're saying, well, I'm not allowed to ask that here because you're talking about variances, and, I mean, that doesn't seem to be reasonable.
You can ask it, and I would hope that if the architect has that information,
Right,
he
okay,
would
so
provide it.
looking at the, if you're telling me that's 3,200 square feet or 3,500 square feet, I mean, it doesn't look like that in terms of the drawing. And, I mean, I just, you know, I've heard 4,000 square feet, I've heard 5,000 square feet, so I'm just simply asking, what is it? I mean, an architect will know what it is. I'm an engineer, so he can easily tell what the dimensions are of of the 2 floors, excluding the basement, excluding the garage.
So he's telling you it's about 3,600 square feet.
Which kind of perplexes me when you look at the size of that footprint compared to the house beside it on each side, because we know the square footages of the houses beside it. I know the square footage of my house. So, you know, the scale seems out of scale. So something doesn't seem right.
Okay.
That's my point.
Thank you. Were there any other comments from the public on the zoning applications? Yes, sir. Come forward.
My question is, the laws by the regulation, the existing regulation show minimum. If you give the permit, what's the reference?
So when you're asking the question about lot regulations, are you talking about?
The existing regulation set the minimum.
Right.
Yeah, right now, the applicant want to change, don't follow up the regulation.
Correct. That's why
Yeah.
he's made his application.
What kind of the judgment you made to give this permit? What kind the reference? What kind I want to know based on what you want to know if apply this, applicate this, the law already here. What kind of reference I want to know? You make the judgment, make the exception.
So if I understand your question, let me just defer to staff on that. It's the regulations are what they are, but I'll defer to staff here on this to give you an answer.
Through the chair, so the purpose of this meeting is for the applicant to proceed with a severance application and request minor variances. Minor variances for purposes of relief from the provisions of the zoning bylaw. What committee's purpose is tonight is when they are assessing the application for consent, it's mandated by planning's legislation, the Planning Act. An application for consent must meet the criteria set out under section 5124 of the Act, which is also outlined in the town's official plan. And in general, a parcel of land created through a severance application must conform to the provisions of the official plan and shall generally conform to the intent of the zoning bylaw. when committee is considering a minor variance application, as outlined in the planning report, committee makes its decision for approval or denial based on the 4 tests of the Planning Act, whether it meets the intent of the official plan, whether it meets the intent of the zoning bylaw, whether the development is minor in nature, and whether or not the development is desirable for the lot. So those 4 criteria for minor variance are what committee bases their decision on, and for the consent is whether or not the proposal meets the general intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw.
Does that answer your question?
Not clear. Yeah, each case, I don't want to say the law already here, already existing. If everybody, I don't want to see, case by case, I want to see, build a big house, 2 house, can get more, the government can get more tax from the property.
Yes, but the Planning Act allows the municipality through applications, and the job of this committee is to look at, because yes, the regulations are there.
Yes.
And an individual can come forward and make a request to reduce minimum frontages, for example, or a setback. And it's based on, the criteria is there to judge it. It's up to the committee then to look at what the regulations say, what staff reports are saying, and the merits of the applicant and the information that we receive. So in this particular case, that's why we're here, is, the regulations are there for a very general purpose. And under the Planning Act, it does allow individuals to come forward and make requests for variances.
Okay, if this make more flexible, the regulation doesn't make more flexible right now, right? The law already here, the regulation already here. You can make any judgment.
Well, sometimes
This is not serious, right?
I can tell you that this committee, since I've been sitting on it, has looked at applications, and in some cases, we've looked at them and we've made changes to them.
Okay. Anyway, that's my concern. Okay.
Thank you. So on the question of the zoning variances, is there anyone else who wants to address the committee? Okay. They're requesting changes for the frontage, and they're requesting changes to reduce those setbacks. Yeah. No problem. All right, I'm going to look to members of the committee first. Clarence, go right ahead.
Through the chair, I have a question that I want to address to the staff. Under the various internal memo on the 3 applications before this committee, section 1 at page 2 of the internal memorandum detailing the existing lot frontages on Lacey Court. I'm looking in particular at the 2nd paragraph under section 1. Now, do I take it based upon the drawing that you have prepared? We're looking at existing frontage at around between 17.6 to 21.3, excluding the applicant's lot frontage. And the reason why I ask that, because we look at the second line from the bottom at paragraph 2 under section 1, it talks about a range of between 11.8 to 26.8. So I just want that clarification as to whether that is still the case, given the drawing that you have prepared.
Through the chair, can you please specify which
Which report are we in?
report are we looking at? Is it the consent or the
Yeah.
So it looks like all three has the same information. But why don't we start with the consent application? If we look at page 2, general intent of the official plan, second paragraph, second line from the bottom, the existing lot frontages on Lacey Court range between 11.8 meters and 26.8 meter. Is that still the case? Because I think that reference is shown on all three internal memoranda on the applications.
Through the chair, that is not the case. This goes back to the diagram that I provided for the clarity on that. So the properties would range, excluding the subject lands, from 17.6 meters to 21.3 meters approximately.
So as a follow-up question, given the information that you have just provided and the drawing prepared, is it still the opinion of the staff that the proposal fits within the pattern of existing development along Lacey Court?
Through the chair, the staff's opinion still stands. Staff reviewed and prepared the report in the context of all the information provided. Whether it regards to lot area, as mentioned at the outset, those frontages provided were more from a streetscape front property perspective, because the subject lands have a considerable flare out in comparison to the other lots within this plan of subdivision.
So let me just understand. We look at the property at 22 Lacey Court that has a frontage of 17.6 being the lowest number in the area. What the applicant is seeking is a variance of, or rather a reduction of, compared to other properties in the court, of about 4 meters for the several lots.
Through the chair, the applicant is not requesting from variance from other lots. The applicant is requesting from the zoning bylaw, which provides that the minimum lot frontage is 15 meters.
That's the concern I have when we are considering whether the proposal fits within the pattern of existing developments, and we're looking at the lowest number in terms of frontage is 17.6, and if the application is approved, then we have 2 lots that has a frontage of 13 and a half.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thanks for that.
Daniel? Do you have any questions?
Through the chair, yes. For the town staff as well, the asphalt driveways that go to the street curb, are the curb cuts going to be independent, or is it going to be one single cut for the two homes?
Through the chair, from the site plan provided as part of the submission, it would appear that there are 2 independent curb cuts, but I will defer to the applicant for confirmation.
I simply want to see if the opportunity would exist to bring these smaller asphalt driveways closer together at a later date, and if they are curb cut to, as per the diagram, that would alleviate that concern.
So I'll just ask the applicant if he understands what the member is raising here in terms of access to the site.
So your point is that it would be better to have one single cut rather than two independent cuts?
No, the opposite. I'm asking if there are going to be two cuts, one for each
No,
driveway.
we are planning two cuts, obviously. I don't think even single cut would even be permitted by transportation standards, but no, our intention was two single cuts, and as I said, like this, this was very preliminary proposal. We didn't work on fine details, and obviously in the future, if this application will ever be approved, we will be working with all the city departments to make sure that the best result is achieved.
That's it.
Thank you. Can I also say something about lot frontage?
I'm sorry?
Can I also say something about lot frontage?
Frontage, yes?
Yeah. So
For
I
clarity?
just want to mention that 13.5 meters lot frontage is the lot frontages which are on this diagram. Their lot frontages measured as per bylaw. There are also other aspect of lot frontages, the actual lot frontage, which is this, actual streetscape. And because the lots are flaring, so just a simple example, like if you would measure our lot frontage, not 7.5 meters, but let's say 8 meters from the front lot line, we will comply. So it's just because the lot widens quite a bit. And same goes for many other lots. Some of them are very narrow at the curb, but goes much wider at 7.5 meters. So visually, it's not really that obvious if we are 5 feet smaller than or bigger than other lots.
Yeah, understand, yeah. It depends on the angles at which those two exterior property lines meet the street. We've seen that many times before. Thank you for the clarity. I will look to other members. Michelle, have you got any questions or comments? Please go ahead.
Am I on? Okay, great. So I noticed that in your design, the garages are built into the home, whereas if you look at the streetscape and the homes around, the garages, they come out from the house.
Actually, the rear portion of our lot is regulated by Conservation Authority, and we wanted to preserve as much greenery as possible because it's a beautiful lot, and also I thought that configuration would make a house more compact, and it will be less impact on the neighbors, because if we will put garages in front of the house, and the house will probably be longer, and it will have more obstruct more view from the neighbors.
Right, and that was my point, that the home is set back to about the same as the other homes.
And the other homes, exactly,
Right.
yes.
Okay. Okay, and then in reading the application, I'm with you on trees and the beautiful lots and the landscape and so on. So I noticed that you had an arborist, like you had your report done.
Yes.
And there were several recommendations in terms of some of the large trees that would potentially have to come down.
Yes.
Because they're either in the middle of a driveway or in the middle of one of the homes. So there's a couple of honey locusts, some white pines, and another honey locust. Some of these trees are in actually good condition. And so I know we do have some recommendations and conditions made on staff report, as well as recommendations by your people, your team.
Mm-hmm.
Is the intent to put in and replace these trees with equivalent large trees?
Absolutely. The owner is willing to put all the compensating planting at his own expense, and yeah, absolutely. We will be working with urban forestry on this issue, and whatever will be recommended and agreed upon between our arborist and urban forestry will be done for sure.
Okay.
So we are totally fine with these conditions, yeah.
Okay. And then I notice also that the dimensions that were also mentioned by other committee members here through the chair, like one of the homes, the street is 11.6, and when you take the 19 and a half and divide that by 2, it's about 10, give or take. So it's less, but it's not a lot less. from the streetscape versus going back 7.5 meters. Okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, I have a few questions for staff. I gather from the staff report and my review that these homes are in stable neighborhoods, in a designated stable neighborhood, correct?
Through the chair, yes, the official plan designates the property stable neighborhood.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So I just, in my head, in the hypothetical, were we to reject these consent to sever, and just addressing the concerns of the public in terms of size and mass, the R3 zoning that applies currently to these properties, were it to be one property and with 35% lot coverage, would potentially allow a home up to 5,000 or 6,000 square feet with the same separation and exterior side backs as are being contemplated in this proposal. Is that correct?
Through the chair, if the application were to be denied tonight, the applicant would have the authority to submit a building permit subject only to the conditions of Section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw regarding lot area, frontage, rear side yards, lot coverage, height, maximums.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, just to follow up on that, so were these applications to be denied, in theory, because I note that the height that is proposed here, although we are not here to talk about height, the applicant has not submitted drawings to the maximum height of 10 meters, but to 8.5. So it is possible that, to have an application in the future that fully conforms to the existing zoning that would be bigger than the two properties as currently proposed in the renderings.
Through the chair, yes, unless committee imposed a condition that future building permit applications be substantially in accordance with the sketches permitted as part of this application.
Thank you. Let me just, if you'll permit me to consult my notes here. Once again, through you, Mr. Chair, another question to staff. I note here, and I recognize that we are talking about side lot setbacks and frontages, but given the nature of the stable neighborhoods, and one of the comments in the report, I would just, one of the questions here and one of the statements here, staff are of the opinion that based on the proposed building orientation and scale of development, that the proposal fits in with the pattern of the existing development along Lacey Court as the official plan intends. And obviously one of the criteria for our deliberations today is conformity with the official town plan. I'm wondering if staff could just give us a little bit of context in terms of how the proposal fits with the pattern of existing development in terms of scale.
Through the chair, as the staff report outlined, it specifically referenced the orientation of the lot, and through the staff's assessment, the individual that wrote this report is not here tonight. He's out of the country. So in discussions with him prior to our meeting tonight, the orientation is in line as it is set back to kind of mitigate from the court being set back, you don't have a larger face right up against the street. And they're complying with the zoning bylaw, aside from the interior side yard setback and lot frontage. So the compatibility was regarding the orientation of the proposed houses and their setback from the street. As committee member Boyer had mentioned, it is almost pretty much in line with the adjacent properties with regards to the setback. And also the other properties within the street are 2 stories. I think that factored into staff's decision as well with regards to compatibility. Hope that answers your questions.
Thank you, it does. And through you, Mr. Chair, if you'll indulge me, one last question here. Let me just see here. I note in the original staff report, it mentioned that there was no information provided on compliance with section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw with respect to height and lot coverage. And then in the follow-up updated staff report, it says that aside from the variances requested here tonight, that the proposal is in compliance with all other elements of the zoning bylaw. I'd just like to confirm that, because I believe I understand that no figures were provided with respect to lot coverage. Is that correct?
Through the chair, the applicant submitted the supplementary drawings to preliminary zoning review, and it was deemed that it conformed to the zoning bylaw. And as part of a building permit application, if it was found to be in non-compliance with the zoning bylaw, they would have to reappear before committee regardless.
So, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So just to confirm that this variance application for the interior side lot setbacks is simply based on the distance to the property line, and we have no concerns over overall lot coverage.
Through the chair, that's accurate. The variances regarding side yard setbacks, we have no objection to the 1.2 meter side yard setback, and as zoning did not find that there was non-compliance with regards to lot coverage, and there's no request for lot coverage today, the lot coverage permission is satisfied.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just for the benefit of the new members on this committee, it is not uncommon that as we go around this table, members of the committee have questions, and in a lot of cases, some of the questions that are being asked by other members result in us having further questions. So just so you folks know, just because you've had one kick in the can does not mean that you don't get second kicks and many thereafter if you need to. So just want to make you all aware, and I know that Daniel has another question. So please just feel free, just let me know if there are other questions that come up following either responses from the applicant or staff, or if it leads to other questions from you. So go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, I'd like to ask another question to staff. Has parking been looked at as a consideration or an issue in this court? We are working from satellite images and on site that entrances were a little covered in snow. It would look like we would lose one parking spot on the court, which seems to address about 7 people with approximately 6 parking spots available to 7 homes, bringing it down to 5 parking spots for.
Through the chair, for purposes of a minor variance and consent application, the zoning bylaw does not consider on-street parking. It only considers off-street.
I may end up causing you all to ask more questions. And as staff well knows, I was not acting chair for the last 4 years, so I am obviously acting chair. And I tend to ask this question a lot. So to the applicant, with respect to the side setbacks, the reduction seems to me to be quite small. And the roof projection, the eaves projections, 0.006 meters. It seems somewhat a very low number relative. Did you, and I know the answer to this, but I want to get this on the record. Did you look at how much further back you would have had to push those houses? Because we're in a pie-shaped lot here. How much farther back would you have had to have gone in order to bring those setbacks, those side yard setbacks? I grant that they are interior. They're not an exterior. They don't affect the conformity of those exterior. But how much farther back would you have had to have gone? Do you know?
Chair, I had a brief consultation with a homeowner who's present here, and basically we've decided to drop both those variances without moving houses back. I'll just redesign them and make it a little bit narrower, so we will comply with interior side yard setback and with eaves projection. So if it's possible for committee to consider, we are willing to withdraw those two variances and we'll redesign house front of the house, make it 1 foot narrower, and it will comply with zoning bylaw.
Wow. So, I wish you'd had that conversation before the meeting started, so that we wouldn't be.
No, because we didn't really.
No, and I'm glad that you did.
Thank you.
I am going to look to staff. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask staff, in order to move forward, I think we've got 2 courses of action that we can use to address the side setback issue. But staff, it sounds like the applicant is willing to withdraw the request for side setback reductions and eave projection reductions.
Through the chair, if the applicant is willing to withdraw that, what you can do is, or what the committee may do is, if this were to be approved, they could just deny that specific variance for side yard setback and eave, and in doing that, the applicant would have to comply with the provisions of the zoning bylaw for side yard setback and eave projection. So in essence, the variances would be just subject to the lot frontage and, and that's it, just the lot frontage.
Right. So, thank you. That's exactly what I thought you were going to say, but I want to make sure that that we can do that. So, I do tend to play devil's advocate when these things come forward to this committee and suggest, why can't you just shift it? And I thought what you were going to say, and I don't want to belabor it, but I did hear you mention that you're looking to preserve the opportunity to mitigate any damages to the rear property and any of the trees outside of the area that we're currently talking. So I'm going to suggest that your response to that would be by bringing the buildings into compliance with those side setbacks, you're not going to move them. You won't have to move them too far back. That would interfere then with the slopes and, okay. All right, so my suggestion then to the committee should, and we're going to deal with the severance first, should the severance be granted, we could just refuse the reductions to the side, setback reductions and the eve projections in a motion, and then just deal with the reduction to the minimum frontage. I do want to comment on one other issue that was raised, and I do this more for the resident. This committee doesn't deal with discrepancies between what one surveyor says and what another surveyor says. We don't have that power. That is a civil matter, and that would have to be taken up between the property owners affected. I understand survey costs can be very high. I did note on the application the setback, and I'm assuming you got this information from either a town record or from other documents that were provided to you. That side setback that you show at 1.38 from the O'Hare's property, and I noted on her drawing it was 4.38 versus 4.40. So there appeared to be a 0.02 meter difference. Again, we don't deal with those issues here at this table. We don't deal with issues regarding whether a developer is going to knock down someone else's property or affect it. I do note that there is an easement between those two properties, which would, for all intents and purposes, maybe avoid any problem with regards to the fence, the existing fence that's there, because you can't build anything in there. That there is an easement between the two properties, half on one and half on the other. But it might be something that you, the applicant, might want to look into, just to be sure that you're dealing with the most recent information that you can get your hands on with respect to that. In terms of utilities, I think that has been covered off in the conditions and comments from the town and the region. I believe that was really all I wanted to add to the discussion at the table. So I will, as staff, I will look to staff for any additional comments or direction.
Through the chair, just to add on to your comment about the survey, if it is to any relief of members of the public, a condition of provisional consent requires that the applicant provide a reference plan for the property, which must be done by a surveyor. And if there is any discrepancy from what the surveyor finds as a lot area or lot frontage, that does not meet up with the proposed minor variances and consent, the applicant will be required to come back to committee with the proper values.
Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate that. So on the consent application C 2019, unless I have raised any other questions that need to be addressed by members of the committee, I will look to the committee for a motion on the consent application. Michelle?
I move that we approve the consent application C-2019-01 based on the recommendations and conditions becoming part of the approval.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Stephen, you're seconding the motion? I will call the question then. All in favor? Is that, yes, all opposed. Sorry, do you want to record that?
through the chair, votes must be placed above the shoulder, so it's, yeah.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. On the question of the minor variance application MV 2019-02, I'll look to the committee for a motion. Go ahead, Michelle.
I would like to move through the chair that we approve the minor variance application. I don't have the numbers for the one for the lot frontage. Is that MV 2019-02?
So, for the record, the minor variance 2019-02A speaks to the frontage,
Okay.
and
A.
then 02B and 02C refer to the side setback and the eve projection.
Okay. Are we voting separately on A, B, and C?
You can move that we approve A and deny B and C.
Thank you. So through the chair, I would like to move that we approve minor variance application MV 2019-02, approve A, and deny B, and deny C.
And I'll look for a seconder. Stephen has seconded that motion. All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. And I will now look to the committee for a motion on MV 2019-03 A, B, and C. Michelle?
I would like to, through the chair, move that we approve minor variance application MV 2019-03 A, and deny MV 2019-03 B and C.
Thank you. Seconder for that motion, Stephen. All in favor? Against? And that carries. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And we appreciate your indulgence on the variances for side setback and the eve projection. Thank you. Okay. And I'll look to the committee if there are any items of new business. Nothing from, okay, seeing none, and I'll look to the committee for a motion to adjourn. Your mic is still on, Michelle.
I know. Through the chair, I'd like to move that the meeting is adjourned.
And thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.